All right, so the next lesson we're going to look at is slope. I know some of y'all said you had a little trouble with it last year a little bit, so I'm going to make sure that I take my time with y'all and make sure we, really look at this carefully. So the first thing I want to look at is the definition. Slope is the rate of change between any 2 points on a line. It is a measure of the steepness of a line. To find the slope of a line, find the ratio of the change in y, notice that's the numerator, to the change in x, okay? Where people get confused is when they do coordinates, when you do coordinates like where is point 42? When you do point 42, you do x first, then you do y for points. Point 42, so 42, that's a point. When a slope is not a point. You're going to find points, but you're going to actually look at the change between points. So in this example here, they wanted to look at these 2 points, which is point 23 and 0.46. Okay, 0.46. They want to know what the change is on this line. So the change in y, the numerator, is going to be the red one. So between this point and this point is a vertical change of 1, 2, 3, a positive 3. So the numerator is going to be a positive 3 here. The change in x is going to move to the right. Again, positive movement, so that's 1, 2. So the difference between point 2 here and 4 is 2. So hence our slope is 3 over 2. You can also write it as 1.5. We'll go over the details of that. Okay? All right. So let's go look at our first example here. Find the slope of each line. So we're starting at point 0, 0, also known as the origin. Okay? The origin to 0.34. The change in the y-axis is a total of 4. The change in the x-axis is a positive 3. So going from this point to this point. Now I'm going to show this 2 different ways because it may confuse a little bit, but I want to make sure you understand it as many ways as possible. So the first one is if we start here, we'll call this point number 1. Okay, we'll call this point number 2. If I go from point 1 and go to point 2, I know I'm going right and up. Okay, which means both of those are positive movements, meaning farther to the right, that's more positive x, farther up, more positive y. So change in y, okay, the change in y, this is a delta, also known as change. Okay, instead of writing it out, just write a delta sign. Change in y over the change in x. Well, the change in y in this example, the red one, is a total of 4 spaces, so that's 4 here. The change in the x is 3, so it's 4 over 3. The answer is 4/3. Okay, now, that's when I went from point 1 to point 2. Now, if I switch this up, okay, then we're going to change the order. I would say this one's point 1 and this one's point 2. So we're going to start up here. Now, according to their graph, we're going from point 1 to point 2. That would require a downward movement to go from point 1 to 1, 2. So just flip it around. So if you're going down, aren't you going in the negative direction? So it'd be actually going down, negative 4. Well, I'm going from 1 to 2. The other one is going from technically this 3 all the way to 0. So we're going back this way. Okay. That's 3 spaces to the left. Well, when you go left on a number line, you're technically going in the negative direction. So that's negative 3. Well, you'll notice that the 2 integers here are both negative, and if you divide a negative by a negative, it actually becomes a positive. So we end up switching these to positive, and the answer still is 4/3. So it doesn't matter which point you start at, and they're going to, because eventually, as long as those points are on the same line, it should be the same slope. All right? Hopefully that made a little bit of sense to you that you can use multiple points. As for the other one, other example, okay, we're going to start here. We'll start making here. It's easier to do the one that's down and left normally than go backwards, but you'll see that it works both ways. So the vertical change in this one, we're starting at vertical change, we'll do the y's first, so change in y. We'll look at the y's first. This one's negative 2, this one's 1. So the difference between negative 2 and 1 is a total of 3 spaces. Okay. Now let's look at the horizontal change, so the change in x. Okay, this one is negative 2. This one is positive 4. So I use the points. I know you can use the graph if you want to, but you can also use the points. That's what I'm doing here. So from negative 2 to 4 is a total of 6 spaces. So it would be 3 over 6. Okay, 3 over 6. which technically you can simplify by dividing both top and bottom by 3. Let me write that way. By 3. 3 divided by 3 is 1. 6 divided by 3 is 2. So technically our slope is 1/2, which means for every 1 rise, we're going to have 2 run. That's the words I like to use the most for slope. Is it's always going to be rise over run. Now, rise can be in the negative direction, run can be in the negative direction too. You just got to make sure you keep your signs there. And to prove that, even though they have it on here as being up 3, right 6, we can prove that this is 1 over 2 because you can go up 1, right 2, still in the line. Up 1, right 2, still in the line. Up 1, right 2, still line. You're always going to be on that line if your slope is correct. Okay. Look at one other example. Example number 2. Okay. Graph the data. Well, they actually kind of did it for you already down here. Okay, so they're able to do that point. Point 0, 0 is right there. Point x is 2, y is 10, 210 is right there. 420, 630, 840, 1050. Notice it makes a nice straight line. Now it says B, find and interpret the slope of the line through the points. Well, if you look at the points here, if you work no hours, you're going to make no money. If you work 2 hours, you're going to make $10. If you work 4 hours, you're going to make 20, and so on and so on and so on. Okay, so as you increase your hours, you're going up a certain amount. Well, if you do some math here, if you find the slope is kind of like finding the unit rate. Okay, so in this example here, you can take any of these points, just like before. Take any point you want on here. Preferably, I would use 0, 0 just because it makes it easier. Okay. I would do 0, 0 and do the change of any point. Let's just make it easy and do 0, 0 and 0.210. Okay, so what is the change between those 2 points? Okay, so you got this point here and this point. Well, the change in the y, the vertical, goes from 0 to 10, so it's positive 10. The change in the x, the vertical, or the horizontal change, goes up 2, so it's going to be a total of 2. Okay, so 10 over 2 actually means, 5 over 1. Now, this is our unit rate, also, our slope also. So what does it mean? How can we interpret this? Well, if it's going to be our vertical axis is dollars, okay, the y, this is dollars. Okay, we put a money sign there. Or in our x is going to be hours per 1 hour. So just looking at our units, we can explain that we make $5 per 1 hour. Well, look at our graph. Does that make sense? At 0 hours, you make nothing. At 1 hour, looks like it's about 5. So 1 hour, $5. 2, 10. Yeah, it seems to work out pretty well. So you can actually use slope to find out your rate. You can find out unit rate. Find a lot of cool things out using slope. Hopefully that helps, and looking forward to see y'all again tomorrow.